I think the caffeine hit. All right, cool. And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Monoxide Podcast. I'm your host, Harris, a.k.a. Monoxide, man of many automotive aspirations. And today we're going beyond the meat with, obviously, my good friend Dan from Gun & Garage.
How's it going?
It's going good, man.
Yeah,
Thank you for asking.
Cool.
And then we're changing things up for a while. We've been on a nice long streak of show cars, and I wonder if that train outside is getting picked up on the mic. I don't know. I know for sure you guys will be hearing the dyno here shortly, but so John, you reached out to me a couple weeks ago, or maybe like a month ago. I don't even know. I'm losing track here, but I've always wanted to have some more show car people on. So when you reached out, I was like, all right, this is perfect, because especially VIP cars, because I don't know anything about that scene. I always thought they were super cool, and I just thought it was a great opportunity to just kind of talk about it. So you guys are associated with Drive Cartel. Do a lot of cool shows and stuff, win trophies, sometimes not in cars, but just kind of tell us a little bit about yourselves, your builds, and we'll just kind of go from there. So let's start with you, John.
Okay, yeah. My name's John, Instagram, NLPKN Shiba.
That's what it was, okay.
I've been, I don't know, like I was telling you kind of before we got this going, like I used to do I was a big street racer. Growing up, that's what it was. Had 900 horsepower Lexus back in the day. I did the 180 and started building show cars because like when I first got into the car scene, 15, 16 years old, like Hot Import Nights was, full swing. So that was like my first intro into like car show stuff. And I always thought it was really cool. So I went down like the VIP car route. Saw a video on YouTube in Japan, 2001, of a LS430.
Okay.
And, but yeah, so I've got a 1998 Infiniti Q45, otherwise known as a Y33 SEMA, full VIP build. Goes all over the country and, all that fun stuff. Met a lot of cool people, including, Kyle here. That's how we met,
So what makes it a VIP build? This is something I don't think I've ever heard of before. Is that
so? He's a Mustang guy. Forgive him.
No worries.
nothing VIP in that category?
So VIP, like if you ask the purists and like where it started, there's 10 platforms. So in order for a car to be VIP, it needs to be one of 10 platforms, and they span basically Nissan and Toyota. So on the Nissan side, you've got the President, SEMA, Gloria, and the Cedric. And then on the Lexus Toyota side, you have the Crown, the Aristo, the Celsior, and the Majesta. So it needs to be, for it to like, the purists, for it to be a VIP build, it needs to be one of those 10 platforms. Anything else that's like styled like a VIP car would be then classified as like VIP style.
So were these like packages that they put out then that they had? So like Lincoln guy, Ford guy, they have like the Cartier version, and they got like the fancier ones. It would be like an executive package. These things that were production.
So these were like specific car models. I mean, there are different trim packages like within those categories. But like, I mean, basically like a VIP build is going to be something that's very low, whether you do that static on coilovers or air ride. Usually a good bit of body work, and then big deep dish wheels, and then like a really plush interior, and then the colors are very monotone, like black, gray, silver.
Which makes sense, because like I don't know if you did like a hot pink or something like that, just went.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me.
Basically, like where it started is the Japanese mafia, the Yakuza. So like the bosses would get driven around in Mercedes S-classes, and then all the generals and lieutenants, they would drive the Japanese versions of the car, and they try and dress them up to be like the Mercedes S-class.
But also low key.
Yeah.
They could drive around and it wasn't gaudy and loud, but it had the luxury stuff emulating what the bosses had.
Okay, that makes sense. When you said the black, white, and gray, it just makes sense. Like I've seen, there's only a handful of VIP builds here in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's my car, Kyle's car, Edwin also has a Q45 like mine.
Joe's
Yeah,
M45.
Joe's M.
That one I've seen once in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Is that Joe Campbell?
Fowler.
Joe
No,
Fowler.
okay.
Yeah. And then, well, there's Brody's car. He had that white Celsior, but he sold that, so that's down in like Texas now.
I think, yep.
But yeah, as far as like ones still left, yeah, there's only probably like 4 or 5 maybe.
Okay.
There's a few that are like earlier stage builds.
Yeah.
To get to the point where him or I are, it takes a lot of time and a lot of patience.
I didn't hear the word money in there. Is
Yeah,
that part
no,
of it too?
there's money. Yeah. a
Well,
lot of
and I would
money.
say the only way around that, slightly even, is if you've got extremely deep pockets.
Right.
Even then, stuff is going to take time and waiting.
Yeah.
So I see cars that are probably in the infancy of getting there someday around here a little more, but I've had my car since 2008, so it's that whole process of just a little more every year, fix this, refine.
Yeah. Well, 16 years. I mean, it's 2024 now, so you've probably refined every single year.
Did you pick it up with intention to do a VIP build then, or did you get the car and then you're like, okay, now we're gonna start going little bits at a time?
Not initially. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
seen going that route, but I think where eventually it probably ended up there. Like my first getting into cars, I loved seeing the lowriders around.
Yeah.
And in a way, I think there's a little correlation between, there could be a little bit of like a Japanese version of a lowrider.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Where, you've got the interior, you've got all of that.
The same love, because like
The attention to detail in
It's
the
huge.
lowriders is unmatched. And that's a lot of what my car's been the last few years, is looking at stuff and like, okay, this little tiny thing needs to be fixed. Like this could be just this little bit better. And so that's what, the last handful of years on my car have been, is just almost, you hit a point where doing more isn't necessarily good.
Yeah. Yep.
But take what you're already doing and figure out how you can do it better.
What kind of wheels are on your car?
They're a collaboration between a company called Luxury Abstract.
Okay.
It's a little tiny company that's founded by one of the kind of VIP OGs, and Junction Produce, which is kind of like the OG Japanese company for VIP stuff. And
It's a funny name. It sounds like one of those like food
Pineapple.
market.
a market.
Yeah,
or
like a
something.
market out of Colorado or something.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because it has like the beads or whatever, right, on the wheel. Or am I thinking of the wrong wheel?
Well, it's an little engraving
Oh.
along the windows on the edge of the spokes.
Okay.
And that's sort of the Luxury Abstract touch on that, on the Scara. It's always been, kind of a 5-spoke, pretty plain wheel. And they do some more kind of wild designs.
Yeah, they have some really intricate designs. Luxury Abstract does, so shout out to Aggie on that one. So
It's just
Yeah,
so
there's nobody that's got vision quite like he does
Yeah.
on that stuff. It's,
Now, what about the interior of your car? Is that something that you grab inspiration from somewhere, or were those ideas where like, oh, we should do this, this, and this? Because I saw there's like a bar, cigar holders, lights in the doors, things like that. Is that all? Do you guys have like an interior guy you use, or is that all you guys, or?
Well, none of that stuff, in mine at least, is completely original. Like,
Right.
the tray tables and that sort of stuff has been one of those kind of old, traditional, almost to the point where it's played out things, and people
Okay.
are starting to move away from it sometimes.
I thought it was cool
But-
shit, to be honest with you. I was like, damn, that's awesome.
Some of it, like, I've seen people do like the infinity mirrors in the doors, that sort of
Yep.
thing before too.
Oh.
So it's really all taking inspiration from various places, and you try to do something a little different with it if you can.
Yep.
But
Yeah, like Kyle's interior is definitely more, I guess, like staple VIP slash show. Like mine is very plain compared to Kyle's. Like I was like you said, the tables and the pillows and the curtains and that stuff. That's like very correct. Like that's what people go after. Me, I was like, I'm not like the biggest fan of it in like my personal car, so I just like my seats are actually covers, like
Dino Run.
yeah, well, yeah, Dino Run. One of the things I found out from like a lot of the Japanese cars was they were just having seat covers made instead of just like reupholstering the full interior. So I got some seat covers and stuff from a company in Japan, and then you know, actually Kyle made the floor mats and stuff in my car. But I have like some traditional stuff, like the gauge cluster has like Swarovski crystals and stuff from a company called DAD that does a lot of like VIP interior stuff. So you know, I have stuff like that, and then we both. Kyle helped me do my audio setup. Kyle has like a really killer audio setup in his car, so he helped me do mine. So that's like another big piece to like a VIP build is they have some pretty serious audio setups.
Was your car the one that had the Patron bottle in the middle? Before we get too far into the show, I wanted to take a moment to talk about Razorhood. If your daily driver is having issues, aka your beater you got off Craigslist, Razorhood's telemechanics and AI tools can help you diagnose and solve the issues you may be dealing with for a fraction of the cost. All you have to do is add your car to the Razorhood garage to get started. You can provide the AI tool, also known as Gus, with the specifics of the issues you're having, and it'll help you narrow down what the culprit is. It's a great way to bounce ideas off of to figure out what actually might be the problem. You can then select from a variety of solutions to explore the cost and difficulty of doing the repair yourself versus taking it to a shop. If your car doesn't have detailed solutions yet, that's totally fine. Just go ahead and add your car to the garage for free, and that'll let the Razorhood team know what to focus on as they continue to develop and grow. If you want to try out Gus or chat with a telemechanic, go to razorhood.com and add your car to the garage to get started. Use code MONOXIDE-FREE for a 1-month free subscription, or Monoxide20 to save 20% on a 30-minute call with a telemechanic. Let's get back to the show. Or do you or like a tequila bottle or something?
At one point, I had a Grey Goose bottle
Might have been that.
years ago. That was well, and I ended up completely remaking that console and changing it. I'm trying to remember how long ago that was now.
Pre-COVID, probably.
Yeah, I think so. It's you know, that kind of went into some of that, like the cigars and, you know, some of that stuff that, you know, I don't know if you quite call that a lane or, you know, but some of those, your vices and sins. That,
I would have a cigar holder for sure.
Yeah, I thought right away when you guys started saying Yakuza, stuff like that, that's exactly what I was picturing. Just a couple like Japanese mob bosses in the back of that thing, cruising around smoking cigars.
Yep.
You know.
well, we did the photo shoot one year with Singh dressed up in the
Oh,
suit and the sunglasses and
Yeah.
all that, sitting in the back with his cigars and his $100 bills and playing Yakuza for the day.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, I'm looking at all that fine detail and I'm thinking to myself, man, I'd rather pull the transmission in out of my car 3 times than do all of that fine, you know, just that real fine tuning stuff really is, I don't have the patience for it. You know, I just can't. The curtains and the lights and all that stuff, that'd be a lot of work, I feel.
Well, and sometimes it can be a pain. Like I like that sort of fabrication and that sort of stuff where I would, if you asked me to pull the transmission out of my car, I would not be confident that it was all going to work when I put it back together. Like I could do mechanical work, but like to that level, I don't know that how much I trust myself.
Yep.
I don't know, you put that
But-
supercharger in yourself, so.
Yeah, I had a little help, a little guidance on that. The worst part of that is, can you unbolt your intake manifold and, you know, and just, there was some fab work on that too,
Yep.
but, you know, that's not pulling a motor or, that stuff scares
Still pretty,
me more
pretty
than
intricate. We won't. I've got two P3s in the trunk of my Lincoln, but I won't show you the wiring or anything. Don't ask me to pop the trunk because it doesn't look pretty, but it sounds good.
Yep. Well, that's how I got started. And the first thing I was doing to cars when I was 16, 17 was audio stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, because if then you can take your sub box and your amp with you to the next car if you don't have money to do much of anything, and so you're trying to do something cool. And
Yep.
so that was sort of my roots in it, was doing audio. And
I played around with that. I'm a 90s kid, so I grew up doing that stuff. I remember my first set, I had MTX 2000s that I bought from a friend of mine, and I went to go put them in my Beretta pace car, and they wouldn't fit in the trunk. So I had them in the back seat for a long time, just right there, 212s.
yeah,
And I eventually cut the box down and put the sides back on and got it to fit in my trunk. But yeah.
those things where if you ever got in an accident, that box
Oh,
was
absolutely.
probably killing you.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a minor fender bender. It might have hit me in the back of the head enough.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't think about that when you're
Absolutely not. This is back when I didn't even have a deck, right? So I had my like Walkman CD player thing there with the line, the 3.5 millimeter jack out to two RCA cables, that Y cable, going into my amp and into there, and that's how it was powering everything. I saw the stock stereo.
Nice.
oh.
Yeah. The things you got to do to be cool,
Well, you do it. You try to just do whatever you can to make stuff work and work with what you've got. And
Yep.
Didn't you drill through your wiring harness too?
Oh yeah, we don't want to talk about that.
No. I'd love to. I think this.
No,
is
I'd love to talk about your trauma.
Yeah. So I had a Fox body that I had got, and it was, I'd wanted one forever and ever and ever. I mean, it was like my dream sports car that I wanted. Again, growing up in the era I grew up in, being into Fords, and I went to go put subs in the hatch, and I was like, all right, cool. There's that rubber boot right around the main harness. And I'm like, normally I poke a screwdriver through, or I'll get a little razor knife or whatever. Well, I had my drill was sitting right there with the drill bit on. And I was like, I'll just squeeze the trigger and just pop through the rubber there real quick. Well, it grabbed and went. And it went all the way through the 32 wires or however many were in that thing, right through the middle of the wiring harness. Pull the dash, reroute the wiring harness. It was a total nightmare.
Yeah, how many hours did that?
Well, the car sat for like a decade after that. I just parked it and didn't mess with it.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it took me a good weekend to get it fixed once I decided to fix it.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, when I did my Lexus build, not my race car Lexus build, but my VIP Lexus build, I scrubbed through the harness.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Car was so low, and even though I relocated it, where it came out of the chassis, it still scrubbed on the tire, and all of a sudden I just came out one day and nothing worked on my car. I was like, what happened? Freaking pulled it or got it into the garage and jacked it up and pulled the wheels off and everything. And my buddy's like, I'm pretty sure I found your problem. It's just cut in half by the tire. I was like, oh yeah, that'll do it.
So when did you get rid of the race car?
So actually I finally got rid of the shell just last year.
Oh, wow.
I kept the shell for a long time, but so the heyday of my IS 300 was 2007 through 2012. You had 2J, big turbo, all the laundry lists of go fast super parts back in the day.
And you did it? Did you do all of it yourself, or you had a shop do it?
So it was
mix and match.
Yeah, mix and match. So the motor was built by RS Motors.
Okay.
And then full blown did all the fabrication for the turbo, exhaust, fuel system.
Yeah, that's the name I was looking for.
Yeah, all that stuff. I ran that car around for 3-4 years. I mean, I Texas 2K back when it was still all Supras before all the Skylines and Vipers took over. I did that all the way through 2012, and then I ended up somehow cracking a 2J block. I don't know how. I mean,
that's talent.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but so the plan was to rebuild it, and then it was just kind of the amount of money I had already sunk into the car plus the amount of money, because I was like, oh, well, you know, the car made 900 through an auto. I was like, I want 1200, you know, 1200, 1300 horsepower, because that was like the number back then.
Yeah.
And like the amount of money I was like, you know, somebody's always going to be faster. And I was like, I want, like, grown up things happen. Like, I decided to buy a house. I parted out the car for like the down payment on my house. I kept the shell because my friends wouldn't let me sell it. They always figured I'd do something with it again. But like once I started, after the house and everything was settled and I started building cars again, like it was just doing the show car stuff. And the Lexus just kept on sitting and sitting and sitting. And eventually it's just like, you know, between me and my partner who also builds cars, like, you know, we have our hands full with a number of projects, and it's like, I'm never going to get back to this thing, I don't think. And, you know, one of my former coworkers hit me up. His son was looking for, you know, a drag car project. And I was like, you know, he's like, you know, anybody's selling an IS300? And I was like, I have one sitting that's been sitting for, you know, going on 10 years now, and it's got 80,000 miles on it, you know, because I was the second owner of that car. So, you know, I was like, yeah, you know, he showed up, had the right size wad of cash. There was like no real price. I was like, I like that size of wad of cash. So, you know what, you can take it. You know, you're gonna do something with it. Actually, somebody sent me a picture of it. It's at, I don't know what shop it's at, but it's at some fab shop getting a cage. He's like, hey,
Locally here?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, like he is doing stuff with it. So, you know, it'd be weird seeing, like, I've never, like, all my previous cars have gone out of state. So, like, I've never ever had a car stay local. So
where you've got to see it running around.
yeah, so it'd be interesting, like, when that car comes back, like, especially if he doesn't paint it, you know, like, it'll be weird. It'd be like, man, that's my old car. So
That would be kind of weird.
yeah, we'll see.
You know, if they're just sitting, though, it is, like you said, let somebody else enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, they're only going to get worse as they sit.
Yep.
I mean, the cars rot eventually, you know, just even sitting. So
Yep.
it's, I did the same, that car we were just talking about where I messed up the wiring harness. It was one of my first cars, so it was kind of special to me. Well, I finally sold it this last fall because I was like, it just sits there. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's what it eventually came down to. And I was just like, you know what? Like, there was a dream to bring it back and do something with it. And I'm just like, I'm just tied up in other things. And,
Yeah.
you know, we want to build a bigger garage to, like, house all the cars. So it's like, you know, one of my... You know, my partner kept joking. It's like, you're going to be 80 years old, and I want to get around to this thing one day.
Right.
You know, sinking into the ground.
Yeah.
And this is an intervention, Dan. How many cars do you have sitting
I
currently?
sold a bunch this year.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm getting there. Next
How many are left though?
On this episode of Hoarders,
I got quite a few.
you should have your own AGTV show.
Yeah, it's in the works. I just had a meeting with a friend of mine that him and I do a little bit of car flipping, and he might be getting a bunch of my parts to do some eBay stuff. So, well, it's coming. I'm trying to clean house.
It's a must. So you're so what are you making power wise since you have that supercharger on yours?
It's still slow.
Well, yeah.
But, you know, I haven't had it on a dyno or anything. I'm guessing 325 to 350 at the wheels.
So like GR86 numbers with a supercharger.
Well, the motors hasn't been opened up or anything, and
Right.
on the 1UZ, like, you can't put that much boost into them without building the rods and all of that stuff. And it's a show car.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
It's not going to Mexico. It doesn't matter how fast it is when it comes down to it.
It's just that bling in the engine bay.
And, you know, it makes a little bit of noise, and
Right.
you know, every once in a while it's kind of fun to get into it a little bit. But I don't have the desire to go fast.
That's
It's never
another laundry list of expenses.
Yeah.
So was it
Yeah.
like something that you've tune was flashed on it from wherever you got the supercharger then, like from whatever company?
It's much more primitive than that.
Oh, okay.
It's basically, I bought the supercharger and manifold setup from a guy in Texas that had kind of built it himself and figured out how to make it work before there was as much stuff on the market for the 1UZs.
Okay.
And, he basically paired up the right size injectors with, the mass airflow sensor, and it's got what's called a split-second enricher module that controls basically when you're on partial throttle and kind of tricks the stock ECU into cooperating.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And, then it's got a 9th injector that's also has a separate controller, so you can use that to help fine-tune the air-to-fuel ratio, too. So I've always thought about an Apexi Neo or something like that to at least bring it into, like, the semi-modern era. But like I said, I'm not pushing for numbers or speed or any of that. As long as it runs reliably and it's safe, I don't really feel the need to mess with it too much. It is more for looks under the hood than anything else.
Okay.
But it is kind of an oddball way to tune things.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why I was wondering if you just bolted the stuff on, or if there was some kind of a way to have tuned it or whatever. And it is the same thing, kind of when you back in the Fox body days, you match your injectors with your MAF.
Yeah.
And then you do a little bit of tweaking, and there you go.
Well, and I think the guy that figured out how to make all of this work, he was more of like that kind of old school mechanic where if I can avoid adding extra computers and all that stuff into this, I want to just keep it simple.
Right.
Speaking of not simple things, well, to be fair, it's an older Audi, so there's the fireball. Okay. I wonder how many runs they're going to do on that thing yesterday. Dude, I was here in the office yesterday, and they had a 4-digit car on the dyno, and it was shaking my water. Yeah. I think it was 4 digits. It might not have been. I'm guessing. But let's see. Oh, this is what I'm going to ask. So how wide of a tire are you running on yours? Because you guys have some big wheels.
So I've got a 19 by 11 in the front with a 245/35 and a 19 by 12 in the back with a 275/30.
We're going to make the performance guys cringe right now.
right. Yeah, it's the tire's stretched. It's what the performance guys are going to hate.
Yeah.
Like, but it's not built for that purpose. I guess you could, and it's stretched, but it's not that crazy. Like I've driven that car all over the place and never had a problem.
So far, so
like,
good, yeah.
My car is 19 by 11 in the front with a 255/35/19, and then the back is a 19 by 12 with a 295.
Oh, geez.
So I used to, my old set of wheels, the rear was a 20 by 13 with a 315, and that was stretched.
Oh my
So-
God.
Were you running? Did you ever end up with the R888s?
No. Yeah, that was I'm sponsored by Toyo Tires, and back when I had my 20s, my 20-inch setup, I was running like the Toyo T1R, and they discontinued that tire, and it was the only tire that they made with like a 315, and I tried stretching, because now I have on my 19s I run the Proxy. Toyo Proxies, and they do the widest the Proxy goes is a 305. I tried that on the 20 and it didn't hold. The bead would keep popping.
How do you even get the bead on a stretch tire? I've always wondered that.
I still don't know. I mean, it's like watching the tire guys do it, like it's magic to me. So
Yeah.
But because like honestly, the 20 by 13 wasn't that hard actually with the 315, like no cheetah or anything. They just popped it on. But the Proxies on the 19 by 12s, we use a cheetah front and rear to get it on, but it wasn't anything like too crazy. I mean, I've done some crazy stretches. So like the craziest stretch I've done is a 245/40 on a 12 and a half. So
that's crazy, dude. It just hit me.
I'm assuming you guys know Carissa, right?
Yep.
I'm with her on a rally one time, and she gets a flat tire, and
was that in Wisconsin?
yeah,
Out in the middle of,
so
I
I hauled her wheel back in the back of my wife's Mustang, and for her, and she's calling like. Discount tires.
Oh yeah,
like
they're not gonna touch it.
I was like, did you tell them that it was this and this? She's like, no. I'm like, dude, they're not. You're gonna show up with that, and they're gonna go, not happening.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what ended up having to haul everything back.
I mean, I use Samaritan.
I've heard good things about them.
Yeah, they do a good job. If you're in the North Metro or want to drive, Top Shelf Tires in Ramsey will also stretch, and they do high end. They like I used to know I know the current owner, but me and the former owner of that place go like way back. He's like old, they're all car people, so they take care of stuff. But yeah, like in the cities I use Samaritan, and they do a good job. So
JWP's got a machine
JWP
in-house now
does it.
too. He's the one I've been going to for a while.
Okay.
And obviously with that kind of wheel and tire, you don't trust just anybody. Like usually you find somebody that, like I'll call up John and he'll get Tyler, and it's like he'll take care of you. He's good. Like
I mean,
but your random discount tire.
Oh yeah, no.
That ain't happening.
No.
They're not going to take on the liability.
Like it's defying physics as is being mounted like
discount tire when you like back when I bought tires, like Discount Tire wouldn't even sell me tires like without that like what's it going on?
I hate when they do that.
I'm like, no, just here's the size I need, sell it to me. And they're like, oh, well, we need to know what it's going on. And I'm like, it's going on a 2000 Lexus. They're like, oh, that's not gonna fit. I was like, bro, I know that. Like, your computer says it's not gonna fit, but it's gonna fit.
We'll make it fit.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to like literally any grocery store and they request for you to put in like your rewards number. It's like, skip this. Let's just get this going.
Yep. So, yeah, even with my Infinity, it's like, it's like the same thing. It's just like, dude, just sell me the tires. But luckily, got picked up by Toyo with actually my partner's build. So, they saw it and they're like, hey, you guys build cool cars.
So what is that relation? I mean, and you don't have to touch on this if you don't want to, but what does that relationship look like with Toyo?
So I mean, how I kind of like really got started with it is, so I used to be a judge for Stance Nation.
Okay, you said judge, and I was at court last week, so.
And like that's like my big relation too with Drive Cartel and Modest is I'm in charge of the judging and award categories at Modest. But so when Stance Nation, that big behemoth of a online website and Instagram channel, like we used to do several shows around the country, and I was one of the judges that traveled with, and so that's kind of how I got to know all these like corporate people at like Toyo Tires, McGuire's, all these companies, because they would sponsor the shows. And then so like 2017, me and my partner has the Rocket Bunny, the red Rocket Bunny Miata. So we debuted that car, and Toyo actually used it for like a poster. Like I literally went to a car show in West Palm Beach, Florida, and they're handing out posters with a photo I took, of the car with Toyo tires on it, and I'm like, hey, this is cool. This is my car, and they're like, oh, and like the big Stan, Stan, the big boss, one of the big bosses at Toyo was there, and he's like, oh, I didn't know we had a guy in the Midwest, and I was like, well, I'm not sponsored by you guys, but I always run your tires, and then he's like, here, get your, give me your info, and then literally I get back from the car show, and a week later a big packet from Toyo Tires shows up with a contract and everything like that, and it's been smooth sailing since. I mean, obviously I I put in work. You know, I travel a lot for car shows. You know, 2021 after the pandemic, I put 36,000 miles on my truck and trailer in 1 year.
4 car shows?
4 car shows.
Oh my
I literally
God.
went coast to coast 4 times. So Minnesota is the show schedule is I did basically like a whole tour with Tuner Evo and Week Fest, which are like the 2 big show circuits that I do. And so it's like Minnesota to Chicago, and then back, and then Minnesota to Philadelphia and back, Minnesota to Texas and back, and then I did Minnesota to Vegas for SEMA, and then San Diego and back. You know, all in 1 year with my Infinity. So, and then you know we do we only have a 1-car trailer, so then 2022 we did it with the Miata after we rebuilt that for the second time. So
Is it an enclosed trailer?
no, it's an open.
Open, okay.
Yeah, I mean, an enclosed would be nice, but I don't know. We'll see where
Having
we
a show
go.
car on a trailer's got to be kind of cool. Though,
Yeah,
right?
it is. It sparks a lot of conversations at like gas stations and stuff like that because people are just like, the Infinity or the Rocket Bunny Miata. They're just like, what is on the back of the trailer? And I'm just, it's an Infinity or it's a Mazda, and you know, that's like one of the things with like VIP cars is like presence, and the Infinity certainly like commands it. You know, wide body and everything. So, but yeah, you know, it's. So that's like how that relationship is. And then like McGuire's, same thing. Like, you know, I got to know the right people. I, you know, worked as a detailer for a while, you know, in college and stuff like that. So I always use McGuire's products and just got to know the right people. And, you know, they extended me an offer. And then, you know, we have a couple other smaller, you know, companies and businesses that we work with that, you know, we just, you know, use to promote and stuff like that. So,
So when you say promote, is there anything like, I guess, do they have any requirements of you or
So,
attend this many shows or
yeah,
something?
like Toyo is, you know, they're very results driven. So like, you know, we have to do so many shows a year, so many events, and get, you know, media coverage and stuff like that. And then me being a, you know, I still do photography, but not as like much as I used to. So I shoot like a lot of cars, like my cars, and I find other cars on Toyo's. I do photo shoots to like give Toyo content. So that's kind of like my relationship with Toyo. And then same thing with McGuire's, like, you know, if I detail the car, clean the car, like I just, you know, I have to give them content or, you know, shows and stuff like that. And, you know, I have, you know, branding obviously on the cars, you know, to promote them. So, but, you know, since I like McGuire's and Toyo I've been with for 6 years now.
Okay.
So like,
it's a good relationship.
Yeah.
then.
So we have like a really good relationship to where they know that, like the show stuff is going to like slow down a little bit for like me and my partner. We're redoing the Miata for its like final phase, but we also have 2 Honda Civics that we actually road race with.
Okay,
So,
what year Civics?
one's a 92 and one's
Okay.
a 93. Both are, you know, hatchbacks.
Nice. Okay.
Like Hondas are where I started, you know, that was my first car. And so picked up, I like for 10 years, my partner has heard me, I want to build a Civic. I want to build one more Civic. I want to build another Civic. And so I picked one up, during the pandemic, you know, California car, and to do like my dream Civic build. So, and it's all like just period correct B series and like Spoon and Mugen parts everywhere. So
That's perfect. Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
a lot of parts like I've had for like 10 plus years too. Like I've just had Civic parts. before they became unobtainable. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say. So I always thought those things were cool too. The Civic hatches back in the the '90s ones that you're talking about. And I was like, just for fun, I was like, maybe I could pick one of those up. They're not giving those things away anymore, are they?
No,
Oh my
like
God.
that. Yeah, when I went to go like get mine, I was like, what's going on? And then I still bought mine for a reasonable price. My partner's Civic we got a couple years later, but we got a screaming deal on it because like California and Texas and stuff, a lot of times you can still find really good deals because they aren't rotted away.
Yep.
So we still got a screaming deal on his car. But when I started looking at parts and stuff, like it was almost cheaper for me to go K series than stick with a B. Like back when I was doing Hondas, and this is like the early 2000s, like you could B swap a car for like $1,500. Now that's a transmission. Like I was like, what happened to the price of parts?
I think Rat said that when he was on the podcast too. Like he took some Honda and just fucking did it like overnight, super cheap or something. Yeah.
I mean, when I was in college, I had a turbo coupe, B20 turbo coupe, and I like built the whole car, including buying the car for like $8,500. I took it to B20 turbo, like 15 pounds. I took it to Rock Falls on slicks and went 11.0. So
That's legit.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you can't do that anymore.
So you guys road course then? You said road course?
Yeah.
So like locally, like Brainerd.
Yeah.
And stuff,
So
or?
we try and go to Brainerd as much as we can, but like as I live right on the border of Lakeville, Apple Valley, so DCTC is like 5 miles from my house.
Right there.
So me and my partner, we pretty much do all of like back when it was just the Impulse guys running the track days, and then now it's like the Gary Curtis and Impulse, and then even we still do some of the SCCA track nights and stuff like that. So I mean DCTC's right there. I mean it's hell on tires.
Yeah, I've heard that.
The track chews up tires, but they are repaving sections of it, so hopefully
that's good to hear. When is that happening, this season or
like last season or like this past season they had a few sections paved, and then they're supposedly doing some more, so
that's good. Okay.
But yeah, we try and do those as much as possible.
Okay. So because we kind of just left you hanging there for a little while.
No, it's all good.
So what got you into your start? So before, or I guess, is your current? Okay, I'm trying to get all the cars mixed up. You have the Q45, right? Or is that you?
That's me.
No,
That's you.
I got the Lexus.
Okay, I'm trying to get the names locked down here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what any of them are, so you can,
Yeah, we're gonna have to send you back to the Ford agency. So okay, what was yours again?
It's a Lexus GS400.
GS400. Okay, had one of the 100 numbers in there. Okay.
Yep.
So then when did you start? So you started out building like 2008ish, I think it was.
Right. That's when I bought the car, and it was pretty basic for a while. You know, just wheels and suspension. The audio.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you.
What do you have for an audio setup?
I've got a Kenwood double din.
Okay.
Old US amps. From one of them's I think from probably the late 90s. The other one a little newer. And CDT components, a 3-way front stage with the mid bass and the doors, and the mids and tweeters and a kick panel pods.
Okay.
That's kind of an old school way of doing that too, is the fiberglass pods. And then an old, they call it version 1 RE Audio XXX 12 in the trunk. Then I'm really thinking about redoing that part of that setup again.
Your trunk is fire, dude. Like seriously.
No, I had one tweak to things, and it's sort of just kind of snowballed from there. Where I've probably got about $400 worth of acrylic in a cart somewhere that we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I've held on to all my old stuff too, and I have a bunch of Punch amps, right?
Oh,
and there's actually like a Facebook page and a following. Some of them are worth kind of some money now.
Dude.
No, I was gonna say those things are probably worth something now.
Yeah, I mean I've got a few of them.
Fosgate stuff?
Yeah, Yeah, it was. Well, that back in my day, that was like the creme de la creme of stuff, right?
Oh,
It was
yeah.
like, you really wanted all that stuff. Right now I have, like I said, I have the old P3s, and then I have Alpine V12 running it.
Yep.
I've got a Alpine V Power.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah, like my stuff's old too. Like besides the head unit.
Well, it was
Right.
quality stuff then, and it's probably the quality stuff now is still not as good. I mean, things that were
No,
a little bit older usually were made a little better.
Like remember those like PPI Art Series amps?
Oh, I'm
Like
not
with
sure.
like they're white and they had like the 90s, 80s, 90s theme like painting on it. Like
Oh, no,
it's
I
like
don't think I've
Miami
seen those.
Vice. Like dude, I want to find those. Like I'm in a Facebook group for those like amps, and I'm like sitting there like waiting for like like a 600 or like a 1,000 watt one to like come through just so I can like get it.
Snatch it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are a period piece right
Yeah.
there. Like, it's, some of that, if you're going back to like the stuff that was cool when we were in high school or middle school, and that's what's happening to some of those 90s JDM cars too, is we grew up on that stuff, and now that our generation has a little more money, and we're going back and trying to buy up what we wanted when we were a kid and we couldn't afford.
Well, it's kind of nice to be able to nerd out with some guys on car audio stuff too, because I hang out with these race car guys that are all like, they wouldn't dream of adding weight to their car.
They're
You
trying
want
to
put
take
how much?
everything
Yeah,
out.
right,
It's
yeah,
like-
exactly.
Oh yeah, like I was on a scale at one point, and my car was at least 400 pounds above what the curb rate
Yeah.
that is. That
Yeah.
between all the audio stuff, the air setup, the 11 and 12-inch wide wheels, like
Yep.
it all adds up, and where those guys are all trying to strip weight, like we're throwing all this
Yeah.
extra stuff on there.
Yeah.
that-
Metal wide bodies and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a second to support the home team. Many of you know the podcast is based out of Ratified Motorsports, who makes some of the sickest builds out here. That dyno you all hear downstairs has seen some serious cars. Whether you're looking for a standard tune for your cute little Volkswagen to a full-on Supra or RS3 build, you should give Ratified a call to get the sauce. Check out ratifiedmotorsport.com/performance to see what they can do for you. Let's get back to the show. Are you on air as well?
No, so my car is on coilovers. It's
Okay.
static.
What coilovers do you have?
So my car is on Part Shop Max PBMs. It's actually full S chassis suspension. So, like the Q45 actually shares the same chassis as a Nissan S14.
Okay.
So 240 SX. So all the suspension components swap over, but you need to swap over everything. So like coilovers, spindles, all the arms, and everything of mine is adjustable. It's like I said, PBM coilovers, 30 kilogram spring rates for those playing the home game of inch pounds. It's like 1,800 inch pounds on each corner for springs. And then I have Kazama Auto adjustable arms and tie rods and everything that they have for a S chassis. So for the car to sit as low as it does and
I was wondering how when you guys were talking about how wide your wheels were, I'm like, how in the hell do you even? Because you're probably not tubbing the car or doing anything.
My
like
car
that,
is
right?
actually tubbed.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my Q45, so it has a history before me. So the car was originally built in California by a guy by the name of Josh, and his screen name back on like the VIP forums was Broke Y33, and that's why the car is called that. 'Cause, he was like diehard static, slammed as possible, drag frame, everything like that. So like when the wide body and stuff happen, I mean the rear is tubbed and everything like that. It tucks 20 by 13s. It swallows like 19 by 12s. I mean my car could go another 2 inches lower. I've had the car drag frame on a flat road.
Oh my god.
So
And you can still turn and do all
yeah,
that stuff. Yeah.
still turn and everything.
Yeah.
What got expensive was so the aero kit, the body kit is completely one off, and I've had the bumper fixed like 3 or 4 times, and
Rookie numbers.
yeah, and it's like $200 to $2,500 every time I've had the bumper fixed. So like how I got the car is the car got wrecked. And I stepped in to buy it and save it. And so like I had the car rebuilt. I did some of the body work. Most of it was handled by Lake Marion Collision down in Lakeville. But I mean, the car probably had the body work and paint on the car is probably $35,000. So like if you want to talk money of what it takes, like just that came up earlier is obviously time.
Yeah, race car
patience.
guys think they have it bad, right? Yeah.
And then it's like money was the other thing. So it's like here's like VIP 101 build. So like your suspension. So like most cars are gonna be bagged. I mean, even coilovers, like a good static setup, like my car with the coilovers, the knuckles, and all the arms and stuff, you're probably looking at $6,000 just in coilovers and arms. Kyle's set up on the air ride because I supplied it. I was an airlift dealer, so he's running airlift. You're probably still $5,000-6,000 into an airlift setup.
Okay.
With digital management, wheels and tires are gonna be depending on like who you go through, but your wheels, and it's usually 3-piece and real wheels. None of these cheaper brands out there. So it's going to be your work SSR, Leon Harderit, your luxury abstract, VIP modular. You're anywhere from like $4,000 all the way up to like $10,000 for a set of wheels.
Well, and you touched on one of the other big things about the VIP. Authenticity is everything.
Yeah, there's
no knockoff parts.
Yeah.
No.
And this is where patience comes in too, because everything comes from Japan. Like there's very few shops stateside that are going to stock anything related to like the VIP market. Most of the stuff you are literally buying straight from the company that makes it in Japan. So then it goes on a container and, floats across the ocean. So you're waiting. Brakes are going to be anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 for a brake setup. Then you get into like your basic aero kit, like ready-made or not a one-off kit. Like your basic body kit, front bumper, side skirts, rear bumper is going to be about $5,000-6,000 before shipping, and then before paint and stuff like that. So then. And then you got your interior, and that can vary, and your audio and all that stuff. But like just to like do like your suspension, aero, wheels, brakes, and like paint it and put it on a car, you're at like $30,000.
My mental calculator is clocking over 50 at least, like all said and done. Because I'm guessing audio, if you go all out, it's probably not cheap either.
Oh yeah. I mean, like my interior is probably as basic as you get, and that's like a couple $1,000. So Kyle's being as custom as it is, I mean there's more in it than that. So.
Did you do all that work yourself?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say. A lot of it, the one way you can avoid a little bit of the cost is if you're willing to try some of that stuff yourself. And I'm more of like, partially, if I have the capability to do something myself, I would rather do it myself. Mostly because I don't have that much money. But
it adds up.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, like if I'm fabricating something, if I'm doing something, I know when it's done, how it was done, how well that it was done to my standard. It's hard to find a shop where they're gonna treat your stuff as well as you would. And if there is,
well, maybe not for me. I treat my stuff horribly, but
and if there is something that is not quite up to par with it, I can blame myself for it instead of saying, I paid those guys $3,000 to do this for me, and and it should be flawless, and it's not. And then you get into that position, so you can, if you've got the patience to try to do things yourself, that can save you money and can give you a little more pride in how things turn out.
Absolutely.
If you had your own hands on all those different aspects of it,
Yeah, that makes sense. Real quick, because I had a few people reach out to me literally this week. Since you probably had to deal with this more, with 4 bumpers. Do you have a paint and body guy you recommend here locally, or do they like?
So, like I said, my car was done by Lake Marion Collision down in Lakeville. I mean, I'd highly recommend them.
There was a pause there.
So here, they also painted my Civic, and them, like a lot of other body shops, are moving towards like strictly insurance work.
Yep, that's the hard part.
So,
Just because they do it for you, they may not do it for anybody who calls them. Probably.
Yeah. So, and they have like, anytime I go there, there's always some, because like, I mean, they have class. The reason I got referred to them was one of my friends with an NSX had body work done by them. So I'm like, okay, they're good enough to work.
What color was the NSX?
The black NSX. Oh gosh, no.
I feel like
his name was Mike. He used to remember the shop Base Zone from like way back. I'm probably dating myself.
I was probably in elementary school.
Well, anyways, he had a turbo black NSX.
Mm-hmm.
He's since sold the car. It might still be local, but they did the paint and body work on his car. He's like, and when like the shop that he worked for did like all like the res cars, so like know they were like over by Mystic Lake, so they did all the cars for the res and the Vikings players, so they all sent them to Lake Marion. But every time I go there, there's always some classic muscle car on a rotisserie, and they've literally told me, they're like, yeah guys, come here and spend $250,000-$300,000 on their car, and they're like, it's cheaper for us to knock out insurance jobs. So they told me when I painted my Civic, they're like, we'll work stuff in, but like we're really trying to go towards.
Yeah,
it's tough, man. Like I know I have friends that own paint and body shops, but even though I might send work or refer work their way, I always like to leave a little bit of caution.
Yeah.
When I tell people, because like you ask anybody on the fucking planet, nobody has a good experience with a paint and body shop.
Yeah. I mean,
or it's amazing.
Yeah.
But there's
like I said, Lake Marion has treated me really, really well. I mean, their paint and body work is top notch. I mean, like I said, my Q45 was wrecked. It was rear-ended, and so I mean, you're talking like big parts that have been widened and tubbed, all metal, and I was like, I don't want this to be like a mud car. Like, I want as much metal work done as possible, and they delivered on it. Like, you put a magnet on my rear and it sticks pretty much anywhere.
Okay.
Like, they use as little mud as possible, and they weren't intimidated at all by all the custom work done. And then the paint has been phenomenal. I mean,
that's good.
So
black too, which is
not
an easy one to work with.
We did when I had the car painted, it was jet black off of a R35 GTR, and then we added blue, green, and gold flake to it.
Nice. Okay.
So like when the sun hit, like in like ambient lighting or like convention center lighting, my car looks just like really deep black. But then in the sunlight, like it just all of a sudden it just like pops and sparkles and all this stuff. So but there's another, so like I said, me and my partner were redoing his Miata, and we're looking for a body shop to do it. Lake Marion, they're a little hesitant to do it because, like I said, they want to do insurance work, and they're like, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna charge you.
Right.
There is, I gotta look up the name, but somebody referred me to a body shop just right. It's in Lakeville, near the little airport there. I guess there is a body shop. It's independently, it's an independently owned body shop, and they apparently are good with like doing custom work and stuff like that. So I'm gonna check them out.
Yeah, might as well. Yeah, and I should clarify, there's people out there that do good work. It's just that no two people have the same experience, right? Like there's like, it's like any business, right? Like they have good reviews and bad reviews.
Yeah. Who did like your because so Kyle got a new kit last year. Who did your paint and body?
Well, I've got a guy down by him, right outside of me, my little tiny town in the middle of nowhere. That and actually I graduated from high school with his son, and he's a little one man body shop out behind his house.
Those
and,
are kind of the best.
Those are the ones that are
hidden
usually
gems.
willing to
Yeah.
do that too.
Yeah.
right.
So-
And, I've been like you said with everything, I've been like 95% happy with his work. I've had him repaint a bunch of different stuff for me and, fix some stuff that's, you crack a bumper, that sort of thing.
It seems like a recurring theme with you guys.
Well, no,
when you ride this low to the ground, it's
Is that
Well,
what it is?
yeah, I think so.
I cracked my bumper once, and that was my own fault because I was backing up the driveway, and I didn't realize that one corner had sunk down a little bit on the air ride, and so I just caught the bumper on the driveway lip and
Oh,
ripped it.
that didn't piss you off at all, did it?
I'm lucky. I got out and kicked the bumper, and I actually got lucky I didn't damage it worse because the section I kicked, we didn't even end up having to repaint. But yeah, that's part of where you almost modify a car to the point where you've got to be so much more careful about how you drive it.
Yeah.
That, and I don't ride anywhere near it as low as John does, but I try to drive low enough that it doesn't look completely whack when
You ride around in an S10 or something. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Some of these bagged cars that
That was my thing about bag.
Yeah,
Air
like
ride has come so far with the digital management and the height and pressure sensors that, like, 10 years ago, bag cars were running around like Skyjack.
four
like,
four by four
4x4 status, and then it's like, okay, cool, you look cool when you're parked, but man, see this thing rolling, he's cruising high, and it's like now the bad guys finally ride low, and then they fully air it out, bumpers touch the ground. I'm like, that's the purpose of bags, like right there, undrivable.
Well,
People would say my car is undrivable too, but
well, and for me, as far as riding like that bag, the height sensors is the game changer there.
Yeah.
Because the pressure can vary, by conditions and weight and atmosphere, all that stuff. But the height sensors allow me to feel a lot more comfortable driving like that bagged, because exactly where that tire is in relation to the fender. Because if it drops down a quarter inch, a half inch, my tires are going to be rubbing all over everything.
Yep.
And so having that insurance that I'm going to be able to drive without cracking a fender or tearing something up, turning a corner, and it's probably the difference maker on that.
When Airlift and AccuAir, and there's a whole bunch of other ones, but AccuAir and Airlift were like the two that really started it with the digital management and the height and pressure sensors. That was like a big game changer for the air ride guys. So
Well, I have this. I've decided that I like my Lincoln enough that I'm gonna try and find a clean one and build it. I was gonna go donk with it, but now you guys got me thinking I need to go air ride and drop that sumbitch down.
I mean, man, the donk stuff like gotten crazy. I'm not even gonna lie. Like they do, whether you like it or not. Like, it's same thing with like the VIP cars. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into them. So like the dog stuff, like I used to be like, what's going on with this stuff? But then when I look at the builds, especially like the ones nowadays, I mean, those guys aren't pulling any stops.
No.
I mean, freaking full paint body stereo, and then they got like a twin turbo LS under the hood, and they go freaking run 10s on 26s with rubber bands. Like
That's such a cool category. Like, yeah, so I don't know if you guys know Sam Moraine. He works at the other Ratify location. We
Yeah.
had him on the podcast. He loves donks.
Oh yeah.
Like, and that's his like dream, is to have like a donk that's fast as shit. Like, that's a whole category, dude.
Well, like my previous job, I did the we came out with the suspension for like the donks. So we do all like the Chevy B bodies and stuff like that, and I put together like a Caprice and a G body on 24s and a Caprice on 28. So like it was a lot of fun. I was like, man, I kind of want to do one of these, but I was like, I got my VIP, I want to take my Infinity, I think a lot of people think me and Kyle have like some big rivalry, and it's like, we became like good friends over like the VIP stuff, and I think like our friendship and building the cars together, like it forces us to like not one up each other, but like keep pushing each other to like go to new levels in like a good way, like
a friendly rivalry.
Yeah, like we finally like we started showing together and stuff like that, and having like the cars together at various shows, and it's like it's a huge impact like to have. I mean, in terms of like Midwest stuff goes, like fine, I'll put my name out there. I'll be the one to say it. Like nobody's touching my car, Kyle's, in terms of like Midwest VIP.
Those are fighting words.
Yeah.
I'm
It's truth.
Yeah.
The truth hurts.
I if anything, it's like to inspire people, like
Yeah. Well, that's what you gotta do. Like in the race car scene, if you get beat, get
Yeah.
fucking faster.
I mean, that was
That's-
like the one thing I missed from the racing days is the trash talking. I mean, that was it. That was it. That's what got you going, like almost more in the racing was talking trash for like months to some dude, call outs and all this stuff, and then you finally set up the race and get it done. And whether you win or lose, I think at the end you're just like you're buddies with the dude now, even though you just drug his name through the mud. But it's like show car stuff, like same thing. Like
They're
there's
too dramatic to have that, and like
yeah.
it just ends up a bunch of drama.
Yeah, but like, just, I don't know, putting it out there. Like, I want to see like, Chicago step it back up. Like me and Kyle have been going down to Chicago and just taking names in terms of like.
Well, you guys
really
got something unique enough too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a ton of them out there, so I think there's no reason for you to be. You're fighting for a space that's not very big anyway.
Yeah.
So you should be fine. Yeah, I have what I thought was a really cool. I have a 2021 GT500 that's wrapped Mystic Chrome. I was like, man, I'm gonna win car shows, and then I keep losing to Randy. So it's like, you wrap your car like a pink brushed aluminum and you throw lights on the bottom of it. So I keep him and I have a whole argument. I was like, we should just start collecting these together. I was there with you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's kind of like, I think a lot of people like thought me and Kyle had some like, big rivalry or whatever.
What gave him that idea?
I don't know, just because like we, we're like always these two that are always going out of state and competing and really taking it serious, but it's like we're always like, especially like local stuff, we try and hang out and all that stuff. So, and I've been like pushing him to like even go like for West Coast and all that stuff, because I mean that's like to us car show people, like West Coast is like the heaviest of heavy hitters.
Yeah.
So, like I think Kyle's car can go out there and compete with the best of them. So
Who's got more trophies between the two of you?
gosh,
Ooh,
we have
there we
to
go.
count. I don't know. Gosh.
That's what's gonna speak truth right now. Whoever's
Yeah.
got more trophies, like that settles the beef right here and now, right?
Well-
That's how your community works.
Well, and what I would say as far as that goes, like the local stuff, in general, the Lexus guys have been stepping up. Like I'm seeing there's a lot more, high level Lexuses out there locally now.
Yeah.
But,
The Infinity
8-10
guy.
years ago, it was a little different. And the Infinity classes, you're going up against all the G35s,
Yeah, the Infinity guys are stuck in
G37s.
like the G's and the Q50s. Like nobody wants to touch like the real big body Infinities. So.
And so in those classes, when you got those guys that have a bunch of motor work done and that
Yeah.
sort of a thing, it's kind of apples to oranges.
Yeah.
And you're almost stuck without a class that really suits what you're doing.
Yeah, because like there is a VIP specific category at like at the big shows, and then we'll have one at Modest as well. So it's like you know, the VIP specific trophy is going to really try and encapsulate, you know, those platform cars. And then like I usually don't compete against the other Infinities, but you know, actually this past Tuner Evo, you took best VIP and I took best Infinity. So we've kind of like gone back and forth where like for a while Kyle was like winning best Lexus or best interior and I'd win best VIP. Kyle got the big one though. He back to back best of show.
Is there a show that has like the biggest number of VIP cars?
That'd be VIP Fest in San Diego.
Okay.
So that's the 2021. I took my car out there, and it's a smaller show. It's probably like 150 cars, but it is like
strictly VIP.
Strictly VIP, and it's like it's all of like the West Coast, like the finest, like all the top guys. There used to be one on the East Coast called Black, like the show is just called Black, but they haven't done that for a couple years. So that was put on by Liberty VIP. They're one of like the OG car crews. So like OG VIP car crews. And then like I'm with Endless Projects, which is NorCal based, but we have members in SoCal, Vegas, Arizona, and then Japan, and then you know me and my partner here in Minnesota, and then we have a Texas chapter too. They would have thrown me under the bus for that one. Thomas would be like on the phone right now, like
he's screaming at the windshield.
Yeah, bro, you don't forget about me in Texas.
So you said that you don't travel as much, or I think you said that. So I mean, I guess how much traveling have you done then for shows?
Well, in most years I've gotten down to Chicago once or twice, you know, for either Slammed Enough or Tuner Evo or Week Fest. You know, and I do some stuff in Wisconsin. I've been to Gatlinburg a couple times, you know, and that's the big Slammed Enough show that's, you know, basically on the edge of the Smoky Mountains. And so everybody goes and gets a cabin, and, you know, the whole town, the whole like 3 town area is just overrun with cars everywhere you look. And it's, you know, that's a wild thing that hopefully they can keep calm enough that it can keep going.
I heard it was rowdy this year too, right? Or 2023?
Well, and it's almost like it's on the edge of going H2OI, where things start getting out of control outside of what the show can control. And we know how that goes for event permits and
it kills the event.
Yeah, it kills the event.
And so they do a good job down there and at all their events, but it'd be a shame to see that one disappear too. Because it is a, you know, kind of a destination, you know, I see people there from Washington State, like all over the East Coast. And
that's like a 25-hour drive at least.
Oh yeah, if not more.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's, you know, that's about 1,000 miles from here. And, you know, Seattle's about another 24 hours from here.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You know, you're probably cutting a more efficient route, obviously, but
well, if we put it this way,
you can only do so much.
Nashville's 12 hours or 11 hours from here, I believe. And then you're going even further into the mountains over there, like past Knoxville, I think, right?
It's just past Knoxville, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And that was really cool. I saw a lot of, you know, there was a lot of memes from that one too, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, from what I've seen, I've never been to that one. I'd like to check it out, you know, once before it, you know, either gets too rowdy or gets, but like, you know, there's some extreme stance cars. So like, you know, VIP and stance, you know, the two go hand in hand, but I think VIP keeps it a little bit more conservative, you
classy.
know, like, yeah, a little bit more classy. Like I said, you know, I definitely have grown up. My car has 9 degrees of camber on all 4 corners. You know, I've had a car that had 16 degrees of camber all around. So like, you know, there's that Well, I don't even want to bring it up.
Yeah.
I don't want to give him that spotlight because that's what he wanted. But
The one
like,
that burned down.
yeah,
Yeah,
the car that
that
burned
one.
down.
I knew immediately what you were
Yeah.
talking about.
It probably burned down.
It's just as bad, if not worse, in person than you think it is based off of everything you've
I
seen.
mean, you see cars out there that are like, they're doing it strictly for clout and Instagram likes. Like, you know, and you know, that's something, you know, that's like a whole nother discussion about, you know, like the modern car scene and the younger generation doing it for, you know, clout. And you hear the term TikTok car or like Instagram car, like, you know, it's built for clout and likes rather than like, you know, passion. So
Right.
that's a
9
whole-
times out of 10, they're not as good looking in person
Yeah.
as they are on there.
Yeah, it's
Right.
like, you know, online it might seem cool, but then you like see it. Like, I saw a couple of them when I went down to Tuner Evo Houston, and like there's this Altima, like a pink wrapped Altima with like, you know, 15 degrees of camber all the way around, and like the tire debeaded trying to like leave the show. Like, it's like just
Can't
Yeah.
even get it on and off the trailer. Right
yeah,
there.
yeah. It's like, come on. It's like, you know, do it,
Yikes.
but tastefully. I don't know.
Just to backtrack real quick, 2,600 miles and 39 hours from Seattle, Washington to Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's dedication
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
It says
So
1 day and 15 hours.
You,
of
you
driving.
factor in stops and stuff. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
That's
crazy.
Well, and just the thing that gets me on those longer trips, you know, what's held me back a little bit is almost just fuel cost.
yeah.
and if
like-
you hit a headwind, it's game over.
You're towing a car, you're getting 10, 12 miles a gallon.
If you're lucky.
That starts adding up real quick.
That's
and-
where I love my Tundra. I have a Toyota Tundra. I think it's like 14 miles a gallon towing my heavy boat.
Yeah.
We were struggling on the way down to Texas, dude. I think on the way back we hit a headwind. We were doing 6 miles a gallon.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's a TRX, you know.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, TRX. I mean, that gets like 10 on a good day. Like,
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need to up to the diesel game. That makes towing so much better. I'm
Yeah.
towing 2 cars down and we'll still see 12 to 14.
Well, the nice thing about the T-Rex is you don't technically need to put in 91. So
Oh,
we were
really?
getting pretty cheap gas most of the
Well,
way.
that'll hurt your mileage though too. Sometimes you're almost
In
better
some
to
ways,
get
it,
off.
it worked out. It mathed out. I'm not gonna get into the math. I'm not the math guy. But the headwind cost
I mean,
us
this
an
is-
extra couple $100.
This isn't a math podcast?
Yeah, it is.
Wait,
yeah.
Not this
Okay, good.
episode. Well, actually, if you have this much camber and this is how you're hitting this many speed bumps, how much will Billy spend on this year's bumpers?
It's only a math podcast when we have Michael Peterson on.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god, that was
Yeah.
that was a wild episode. Which, by the way, make sure you check out our sponsor, Razor Hood. The heck was I gonna ask? VIP cars. So with VIP cars, do you guys typically see a higher quality across the board? Like, is there any cheap VIP cars out there? Because I feel like with some show cars, like you said, you have these Instagram famous guys that look amazing on Instagram, and then it's just a POS in person.
my personal opinion and experience with it is, I think VIP cars, like, it's just higher quality across the
They
board.
respect the game more.
Yeah, because it's like it's a higher cost of entry, and it's usually a more mature, dedicated
It's a
individual.
gentleman's game.
Yeah.
I like how you
I
said
mean,
that.
Yes, yeah.
there are, so like, especially you know, with a lot of 90s, and now I mean we're up to 2000s becoming legal very soon here in the US for the 25-year rule. So a lot of like you can buy an imported like Celsior, SEMA, Majesta, Crown really cheap. Like, I'm talking like $10,000-$12,000 like landed here, and you know, from a dealer or something like that. So the cost of entry for like the car is relatively affordable for like some of these, you know, younger people getting into it. But like they aren't, you know, bags and wheels or suspension and wheels isn't like a build. I mean,
Hot take.
yeah. So like,
I'm
you
offended.
know, you're seeing, you know, a lot of people importing these cars, and doing just that and being like, oh, VIP, you know, put some pillows, put like the lace seat covers, or, you know, put the I call it a pretzel, but the Suna, the knot hanging from the.
Yeah, you
the
can
rear
get
view.
80% of your stuff at O'Reilly's, right? That's
So like, you know, those cars, like, it's not really like VIP, but you like the true VIP cars, like my car, Kyle's car, or like any of the big guys on the West Coast, East Coast, Texas, like the competition is stiff. Like if you run into other VIP cars at a show, it's like it's top notch versus top notch. Like
You can't fake it.
yeah, you exactly.
Well, and like that first car you were describing, almost it's not even in the same category.
Yeah.
Even if it's technically, you could say it's in the same category.
Yeah, like it is a
It's-
platform car, but it, you know, it's stock with like bags and wheels. Like, you know, they're not, the judges know enough, like, okay, like, yeah, it's a platform car, but it's not going to compete
Yeah.
in the VIP category with like cars like mine or Kyle's.
So you said, you know, again, we're about to start getting those 2,000 plus cars legal here. So earlier you mentioned there's like, you know, like whatever, 10 VIP cars.
Yeah.
What are is there any incoming additions that we're going to start seeing, or what's going to be the next hot thing? Any idea?
I mean,
no town cars.
You can be inspired as
Yeah,
well.
I mean,
Inspired or styled. Like
what was that one dude? He's like building like a 2001 like Cadillac DeVille.
oh, he just sold it actually. I think
But he took like he you know, like the Cadillac DeVille that, you know, your 70-year-old grandma drives, like with the North Star, you know, just
Yep.
a nightmare. But like dude, like I mean, the guy like took it, bagged it, put like SSRs on it, and then he grafted like Lexus, like a Mode Parfum kit from like a Lexus onto it. So, and you'll get to know this, like we talked about Junction Produce earlier. Every like body kit manufacturer for like VIP cars has some weird name. So it's just Japan, and we love them for it. So I mean, there's Junction Produce, there's Vleen, there's Job Design, there's Mode Parfum, which, you know, he was trying to say perfume but misspelled it. You know, it's like, you know, there's all that.
So I sidetracked you from this. So is there any more coming into the hot 10? Or is there going to be
Like what's hot in Japan, right? Because they actually have these cars legal, right?
Yeah, so I mean, the big ones that are coming over, that the big one is the Century. So the Toyota Century, that is like, I don't know how many people know this, but like, so Toyota, the Century was made for the royal family and prime minister of Japan. Like that's the car they get driven around in, and they actually make a V12 version. Wow. Toyota has a V12 that they make. The base model Century comes with the V8, the same engine that's in Kyle's car. So,
is that V12 isn't it like, because I know there was, is that the same Toyota V12 I've been hearing about? What is it?
yeah,
what's
it's a 1G
1GZ, right?
Yeah, 1GZ.
It's kind of like yeah.
So what kind of like put that motor on the map was Top Secret built a Supra they took a JZA80 and they put a Toyota V12 in it and twin turboed it and did all this crazy stuff with it. So that was kind of like the car that made the motor famous. And then somebody else, like, people have been swapping it into crazy things. I mean,
it's not a well-known motor.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
I didn't
many
know it
people.
existed till
Yeah,
just right now.
yeah, not many people know that Toyota made a V12. So
I have to tell you something
I'm
off camera.
picturing
Yeah.
the Mercedes did a similar thing.
Yeah.
Right? They had like a V8 and a V12 version. Of
yeah,
like a
so
big
it was the
luxury sedan.
S600. So like the S600 and the S500. So you had the V8 and the V12, and you know, you straight pipe it, sounds like an F1 car. BMW, same thing. You know, the 750 IL. Or the BMW 7 Series, you know, they had the 740, 750. This 40 was a V8, the 50 was a V12. So, your Toyota same thing. So like the Century is like one of the big ones that like VIP guys are trying to go after, because it is like it's the pinnacle.
That's kind of like your guys is like R34 in a way.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I mean, they are kind of dated looking, because like they made like the first one in like the early 80s, and then the second generation was like in the early 90s, and then they just came out with a third generation like
A few years ago.
a few years ago. So like it's kind of dated, but like the other two big ones that are really, really popular are like the Toyota Crown and the Toyota Majesta, which like those two are Toyota's like upper echelon cars prior to them making. So like Lexus was the US version of Toyota. Lexus got so big and popular that they homologated all of those models, that so like in Japan, Kyle's car is a Toyota Aristo, not a Lexus GS. Now there's Lexus in Japan, so now like the LS 500 and stuff like that, and the LC 500, it's all sold as a Lexus over in Japan instead of having a Toyota variant. So like the Crowns and the Majestas, we're seeing those, especially like once the newer gens start becoming available, like the lines get much more updated rather than kind of like your boxy kind of 90s luxury car look. So once we get into like the 2000s, like the 18 Crowns and the 18 Majestas, those are going to probably be really popular for people, because there's a lot more parts and a lot more aero available. So
That's going to be awesome.
yeah.
Here's a question I had lingering, and maybe there is no answer to this, but who's the GOAT in your scene? Is there anybody that's just like hands down the most known in the scene, or not really? Like not necessarily Minnesota, but
I mean, I have a couple names I could drop. I mean,
like who's just killed the game?
the real godfather of the US VIP season, or the US VIP scene, is John Lewenang. I mean, he VIPstyledcars.com. I mean, he was the first. He built he brought Junction Produce. He built a GS back in 2001 for SEMA, and that's kind of like where it started.
For reference, I was 2 years old.
So
I was not.
I mean,
Me either.
you know, I'd say him, and that's not just because he's also one of the original founders of Endless Projects, but I mean,
Nax,
yeah,
probably.
Nax in Florida he's been in the scene a long time, and right now I think he's the one like killing it. I mean, his cars are just like next level. I mean, it's show mixed with go. Like he finds all the rare parts, and the body work. I mean, dude runs dual 8-piston calipers front and rear, so like,
Oh, that's insane,
yeah.
dude.
On a car that's not really even going anywhere.
Yeah, on a
Like,
car that
it's-
literally just, he has a LS 430 that's just absolutely insane one-off. Thomas in Texas.
It's sort of the
Yeah.
what I would consider an OG
Yeah, I mean,
too.
he's
that's-
been doing it. He's been doing just cars in general a long time, but his GS is, besides John's, like I think that's your number 1 and 2 GS right there.
Yep.
John and Thomas.
I would say so.
And then
Definitely some of my inspirations for
yeah. And then you probably got to throw Aggie. Luxury.
yeah, from
Yeah.
the
He built a car they called it the President. So he did a Q45 with a Bentley front end.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
okay.
And
I have to look this up.
This was
back in like 2002. Like nobody knew what anything was, especially on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's the guy who founded the Luxury Abstract,
he
the wheel
started
company.
Luxury
That's
Abstract.
you know, so the guys that's been around for a long time and has the respect for the culture and how everything's how to do it right.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, for like, I think overall, like, OG is John, Endless Projects VIP style cars, and just West Coast in general. But overall, him, and then you got Aggie in the east, Thomas in the south, and Nax in that southeastern region.
Yep.
And those are that's my top. My opinion. So
I don't have anything to argue or add. I think that's pretty spot on for.
Now you keep bringing up your partner. You have a shop then?
I'm married. I have a husband. So,
okay.
Partner is kind of one of those a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah. In the car game, it could be running a shop together or whatever.
Yeah. So, me and my husband, we've been together for 12 years and like 4 months now. He was into Mustangs actually.
Yeah.
That's like when we met. He had a Fox body and all that stuff, and I was like, build your Mustang, like sure, do it, and then like,
how did a Rocket Bunny happen?
Yeah,
then?
he was just like, he's always kind of like.
To be fair, they are Ford affiliated.
Yeah.
Mazda, so.
Yeah, I mean there is that.
Yeah.
So like his Fox body, like, it's just a project that was more sitting rather than moving. And so like he's like, yeah, I'm ready to move on from it. And he wanted like a roadster, so he wanted like a S2000 or like a Miata or something like that. And the Miata was just a lot more accessible. And so we bought one from a friend of ours, even though it was like kind of their drift beater. It was a rust-free car. So it's kind of funny because like if you looked at the car when we got it to like what it is now, like you'd be like, this is the same car. Like it was pretty rough when we got it, but it was just a clean chassis. And he just learned how to build, learned how to do like that car is 95% built, me, him, and a couple friends in our garage. Like paint, bodywork, shave bay, all the wire tuck, the shaved interior, everything was done in our house, in our garage, or our friend's garage. So
I'll have to look at that car a little closer, because I've seen it like at the under 94 meet like 4 years ago when I was a nobody in this scene. And I can't remember if it was you or somebody else taking photos, like in that like produce area.
Oh, so that was actually my Miata. So that
okay.
that was my MB. So
are they different cars?
Completely different cars.
Oh, okay,
so,
okay. Which one's the other car?
So the Rocket Bunny one it's an NA chassis, so first gen Miata.
Okay, what color is that one?
It's also red.
Okay, that's what threw me off then.
Yeah, we had
I think 80% of Miatas are red, aren't they?
Yeah, it's something crazy. We've been on this like he got a Miata and I was like, man, this is a lot of fun, so I got a Miata.
Okay.
And that was my NB that you saw me shooting at the farmers market, and then I sold that, and that's when I got my Civic. Okay. And then I got my Civic, and I've had that for a couple years, and my partner's like, I want a Civic. So
it's good that you're on the same page.
He basically drove my car at we went to a Brainerd for AJ's birthday when he rented out.
Yeah.
I've known AJ since like his Suburban. So,
oh my god, I was giving him so much shit in the comment section the other day.
I knew AJ as One Bad Burb. That was his screen name, like on the forums back in the day. I was like, this dude, he's got a supercharged Suburban. That's how long I've known AJ. But yeah,
way back.
Yeah, so my husband drove my Civic up at Brainerd, and he got hooked on it. He's like, oh, I want a track. He's like, I want a track car, something to. Because, like, the Miata, like, we could do it, but he's like, that car's been taken so far along, like, the show level. Like, he doesn't want to do anything to it. I mean, that was the first Rocket Bunny Miata in the States. So,
oh, wow, in the States?
Yeah.
Wow.
We got the first kit because I have some connections with K-Mura.
Okay.
and some people I know at Gretty. So like when K-Muir announced that he was going to do a Rocket Bunny kit, or like he messaged me like, you know, that he was going to do a Rocket Bunny kit and showed me like some of the early renderings of it. I was like, because he knew I had one, and I was like, yeah, I want the kit. So, you know, we were the first one in the States to have it.
So Rocket Bunny's like an edition of the car. Like I just thought it was a really cool name for the car.
It's the body kit. So Rocket Bunny is like
like Liberty Walk.
Yeah, Liberty Walk.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So you know, they just don't do Ferraris and Lambos.
Yeah.
I have a Rocket Bunny Lambo. Yeah, that doesn't.
Okay, he did do a kit for like the one that really made hit was he did one for. He's done a number of kits for like the FRS and BRZ, but then he did an R35 kit, and that was like, you know, kind of his.
Yeah, we had one or two Rocket Bunny R35s here.
Yeah. There's been a handful. So
yeah, I forgot her name. The red one, I think that was a Rocket Bunny, I believe.
Yeah, and then the white one too.
Oh yeah, yep.
TJ Miller.
Yeah,
like his wife, fiance. I don't know their relationship. But
he had that FRS too. That sold.
Rocket Bunny.
Yeah, that was a cool car.
That car is really, really well put together.
It's still around.
Yep. Somewhere, I think South Metro, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know
where I don't know.
I know it's
local.
local.
Just parked with us at Tuner Evo.
Yeah, he you know, I think because he knows Carissa.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. He didn't ask for a lot when he sold that car either, I think.
Yeah, he I mean, he's selling his 240 too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's very reasonable on the price, so he's not asking.
On to the next project. I get it.
So.
Well, and there's guys like that. Once you feel like you're done with the build, you get bored with it and you want to start building again.
Yeah.
You know, so it's either you enjoy the process but not the finished product, and so then it's like, okay, time to start over.
That's how we're wired, man. That's the weird thing about humans, and there's like a whole dopamine episode I listened to or whatever. It's like dopamine is like firing the most like when you're in the process of something, and then once you finish something, it's like, all right, we're back to normal.
Right.
It's so fucked up how we're wired. Like we cannot enjoy something once we're finished.
Like, me, I can like, I've learned to like enjoy my cars like finished, even though like I want to take the Infinity up like one more notch,
just rip it apart.
Yeah. Like, and we're in we just started the process with the Miata. Like my husband thought the Miata had gone as far as it had gotten, and he wanted to like sell it and move on to something else, but now he's like, he wants to like take it to that level where it's like he wants to pull into a show and it's like, there's your best of show. Like he wants that level. So and it's like you either, you know, build it to a point, enjoy it, move on, build something else, or like with like Kyle's car, you just keep refining it over and over because there's
keep nitpicking it. You know, like for example, I had earlier this winter, you know, with the engine covers, all this stuff, I'm noticing if you look at the motor from just the right angle, there's this little section, you know, about like that that you can see of the valve cover and a couple of the coil packs. It's kind of, there was crusty, old, you know, 25-year-old motor. So I'm pulling the valve cover out and sanding it down and polishing it.
He hand polished his supercharger.
Oh, they didn't come like that? That
no,
was shiny too.
Yeah, that was an entire winter of like my fingers not bending straight for like
the man's attention to detail is insane. So
well, that's where, you know, I guess my combat to like getting bored is I keep finding other little stuff I can play with on the same car instead of, you know, that's probably where my trunk thing comes from, is, you know, finding something I can change, like something where I can make better, you know, and it's always like being your own worst critic as far as like nitpicking things, and, you know, like looking at your own, if you're a show car, looking at your own car, like if I was judging this car, what would I hold against it, and then fixing that.
Yeah. Well, so, a lot of times you see the stuff that nobody else sees.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Like there's so
Exactly.
many things, even on my car. Like I'm wiping it down, doing something. Like, oh my god, that sticks out like a sore thumb. 99%.
Nobody
of
else
never
notices.
Gonna notice it. Yeah.
Yep.
Even the judge, like for the most part, they come through and they might spend. If you're lucky, they spend 2 minutes looking at your car.
Yeah. I mean,
Usually, it's less than that.
yeah.
Unless they're going back and forth between two cars for
Right.
an award and they're digging deeper into each of them,
Yeah.
they're spending a lot less time looking at the little details of your car than you think they are.
Yeah.
In our defense, we are looking at anywhere between 250 and 400
Oh
cars.
yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And we're trying to do it in less than 6 hours.
It adds up real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think it's crazy, like some of those concourse like judging
Oh,
ones
gosh.
where they got like you can't have the wrong hose clamp or
That is-
screws.
that
like,
is
that's
nuts.
crazy.
I've been to one concourse event and like followed around the judges. That made my brain hurt.
Yeah.
Well,
Like-
your screws are all clocked exactly.
Yep.
If your screws aren't clocked exactly right, they're taking points off.
Oh.
And
I have a friend. He might listen. SW, down in Austin. He owns a.
What was the handle?
His name's SW. His real name is really hard to pronounce. It's like Srianthia Wasuria. Like, sorry if I butchered that. Yeah, he owns Elite Motorsports down in Austin, and he's like an exotic car or just specialty car dealer. But one of his personal cars is it's a second gen Trans Am that was built for SEMA like I don't know 6 years ago, but it was in the ARP booth. So every bolt in that car is ARP, and it is clocked so that it reads ARP top. Like every single bolt on the chassis, on the suspension, on the motor, every single bolt is clocked so that it reads ARP right side up.
the amount of time that takes is
Oh, I bet.
I would go batshit.
yeah.
Depends on how much how much money they're willing to give me before I'm willing to do that.
I don't know if it's VIP cars, but do VIP cars put goldfish in the trunk or no?
Oh, are we talking the what's his name?
Kyoki.
Yeah, KO. Yeah,
The-
that's definitely unique to him.
Right. That's thinking outside the box, and I've seen a few cars with waterfalls in the trunk.
Yeah.
And he's definitely unique with the koi pond and
Was that a VIP car or no?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was a he came from Vegas one year for Modest, yeah, like it's a 2GS, so it's a second gen GS, just like Kyle's. So
yeah. That's where I know him.
yeah,
You kind of end up like you just end up knowing this people
all
who have
all
the same
all
car
the
as
GS
you,
guys
like-
know each
Yeah.
other.
Yep.
All the Q45 guys know
It's
each
a cult.
other.
Well, they've
All
got like these.
all like 8 of us that have a Q45. And
Well, it's like
Wi-Fi.
people like these are my friends to this day just because we happen to have the same type of car 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of crazy how that works, and that's what you really what I take or what you should take from go doing the shows and meets and that stuff more than you show up and the bigger shows you compete for the trophies and that sort of stuff, but really if that's all you're going for, you're missing out.
yeah, it's
You're-
like me and Kyle like don't strictly do it for the trophy at the end of the day, because
Well, that's what second place usually says.
like especially the VIP community, it's very tight knit. It's pretty small, and kind of like what got me to the position where I'm in the automotive industry has been going outside of this little bubble that is the Midwest, and experiencing events like Texas 2K and H2O and all these big car shows on like the West Coast and the East Coast and down south and stuff like that.
It's
and
all
like
networking.
yeah,
And
and putting like names to like we're putting like actual like faces to like screen names. You know, forums are like still that was like it when I was like getting started. You know, Facebook and Instagram like killed car forums. You know, and
Well, now they got the pages. But
yeah, I mean, there's still
it's
like
not this.
yeah.
It's
I
not
know,
the
I know.
same.
yeah, because like there was so much like information that like I'm glad like all the big forums are still around because like like the amount of information in like those text sections is like it's invaluable, like honestly. Like so I mean, but it was just that whole networking and like meeting people, and that's what like really made it you know, and why I still travel even though like I don't judge national car shows. You know, I still get asked occasionally, but it's like, you know, mainly my job here is modest. So for Drive Cartel, so
Yeah, that's actually and as we start to wind down here, that's one thing we didn't even touch on was Drive Cartel, which is funny enough. So I've only been to Cars and Craft. That's
Yep.
pretty much all I've been to. I've never actually been to a Modest yet. It's just by the time I do the mile, I'm already burnt out of shows by the
For
first
sure.
season.
yeah.
So
I mean, you know, we'd love to have you out at Modest. So it's July 20th this
Yep.
year,
and I'll be there this year because
okay.
again, I'm trying to make it to more things, and that's
Yeah.
one that I just there's like for example, I missed out on Street Machine for the last 5 years too.
Yeah.
So it's like I just got to make it to some of these other big shows.
Yeah. So, you know, that Cars and Craft is what, you know, Drive Cartel like really started and got their their feet wet.
That still, you know, Modest is they do a great job at that of the like the big production show. Cars and Crafts are still like my favorite nights every summer.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm really happy to be back at St. Paul Brewing. You know,
Was it back there this year?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, awesome. Okay, because remember that.
Bent is cool for what it is. You can't recreate just the feel.
Yeah, the vibe.
The vibe at St. Paul
Yeah,
Brewing.
the venue at St. Paul Brewing is like is really cool. Like just even from my aspect of like traveling to a bunch of stuff, like some those smaller events, like when you have a venue like that's that kind of like photogenic and has like its own feel to it is really cool. So I mean, yeah, Cars and Craft. We've got 3 dates.
Yep, we're doing. I believe it's May, August, and October.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not every month.
Yeah,
Right.
So that was also like one of the conflict issues from last year, apart from, you know, some of the issues that happen outside of Cars and Craft that unfortunately Drive Cartel can't control. Saturdays are like, I guess for St. Paul Brewing, they have a lot of like private events booked on Saturdays. So like there's that conflict.
Scheduling.
Scheduling
I get
conflict.
it. 3 shows is. I mean, there's more of an incentive to go too.
Yeah,
Right.
and we're gonna up the production level of like the Cars and Craft to like make it a little bit more of like a mini show. It's still gonna have like the same feel and everything as Cars and Craft has always been, but like, you know, we're gonna kind of like up the production of like the cars and the selection and all that stuff, you know, to kind of really gear up for, you know, Modest. Now we're in our what,
They
fourth
finally
year?
repaved the lot too.
Yeah, they repaved the lot.
Really?
Yeah. So we've got a
Really?
nice smooth parking lot now. Like,
No way. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was part of the vibe.
it was a little. There was a part of that was the charm, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like, okay, those cars can't go down
There.
there because they're too low. Like, we need to put this truck over here because it can make it down there and back. Like,
Yeah, I remember when
Yes.
I barely made it down to the end with my Golf. I mean, I'm fairly low. I should, but not nearly as low as you guys, but it was
Yeah,
interesting.
you're still like.
Dude, I almost took off my bumper here a couple weeks ago.
oh,
That was funny.
Literally, like, yeah, you were there too. Like, Rat literally just shook his head. He's like, "What the fuck, dude?"
But yeah, so you know we'll have the 3 events and then you know Modest.
Modest is kind of the big.
Yeah,
the St. Paul River Center, highly curated selection of cars, and we want variety too. I know we're probably associated more with the imports, but race cars, domestics, classics, hot rods, like the more variety you can get, the more interesting it is, the more you're exposed to stuff you're not familiar with. And
Well, what is Drive Cartel? Is it like a club that people can join, or what? Other than you guys doing these, is it a group of?
It's more a brand than we call it kind of an automotive lifestyle apparel brand. One of those sort of things.
Okay.
And so we've been doing the events for a while, and your kind of usual merch and all of that stuff. That's and I think more than anything, just everybody on the event team is extremely talented at what they do. Our guy that does the audio and a lot of the DJing, that stuff. That's what he does professionally, like a touring for touring concert musicians. Ian.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Were you thinking of Josh Michael?
Oh yeah.
Josh
he's
is
the
the other hosts and MCs.
Gotcha.
The loud, obnoxious guy.
Yeah, he's grown on me. But the last couple of years, I was like, oh my god, stop. But as I figure out
he's an asshole, but he's our asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the way sometimes you explain those guys. Like he's gonna rub you a little bit, but
grows on you,
and super good dude. Like he's a jerk, but he's our jerk.
Yeah. Well, I remember when he was chasing people out of one of the meets because they were I can't remember what they were doing. They were being like obnoxious or something like that, and he was literally like yelling them off. I'm like, yeah, that guy's got my respect now. Like,
well, my wife says you can't trust anybody with 2 first names.
Well, no, that's his first and middle name. Like, it's not his last name.
If it's a trifecta, she said you just need to avoid them all. So hopefully his last name isn't like Scott or something.
No. Okay. I was just that's what he goes by on Facebook. So I think that's where.
So then, are you guys like? Is there like a Minnesota chapter, or is this Minnesota based, or what exactly is it? Because I've always been kind of confused. Because it's like a national thing too, right?
So, well, no, Drive Cartel is Minnesota based.
Okay.
That's where it started. I got brought on a lot later. After the foundation had been laid. Just with my experience in doing the bigger production shows. So, but. They do have you guys do have like your own specific like almost like car group within Drive Cartel.
Mm-hmm.
So we've put some like collabs together. So like I'll get my friends and my teammates, and we'll like combine to like make a super crew, if you will, for like shows like Tuner Evo and stuff like that. So
it's I remember seeing, I think the first time Drive Cartel put on an event like the Cars and Crafts was 2017. And, it was Nuke and Singh and Joey and those guys I'd seen them around beforehand as kind of like Drive Cartel High Horse Club, and remember them being I was having that same spot at Hot Import Nights out at Canterbury, and so they'd been, it was kind of the infancy of it, and so it started out of St. Paul, and basically started at St. Paul Brewing with that Cars and Crafts was really the beginning of it, and they've kind of brought on mostly organically, just people like your friends that like, okay, here's somebody we enjoy spending time with that has something they could contribute to help work the events, make the events better. I'm the guy who checks the cars in at the entrance, basically. But I think part of what I might have to offer is that traveling a little more and having a little more perspective and experience with other events outside of Minnesota where you could say, you know, this is what these guys are doing well that we could incorporate, you know, and this is what we're doing better than most of those guys are, you know, that sort of thing. Or
so this isn't like something that somebody can join other than going to the shows, you
right?
know, seeing everybody and
I mean, you know, they have their
way.
merch and stuff like that, so you know anybody can, you know,
it's good looking merch, by the way. I like the blue, like it looks good.
Yeah. I mean their designs and stuff, you know.
I mean, you guys let Randy and Chris in there, so I mean, you can't. Your standards aren't that high. Just kidding. If you guys are listening.
No, but to where you're saying it's not necessarily like a club where you'd apply and join and pay your dues or whatever.
It's not like a crew or anything like that, you know.
Right.
Okay.
It is a brand. I mean, you know, it was started by a good group of friends, and it's grown into what it is and keeps growing. So, like I said, I got brought on late, you know, along with like, you know.
Me too. I was.
You know, Brian Janouche. He's affiliated with Drive Cartel, and he's
that's the
top rank.
Yeah. I thought that name sounded familiar.
And that you know, and that was mostly because he was a good friend of Josh's, and you know, so let's say I like to. Who are the people you want to hang out with and work with, and that sort of a thing? That, you know, and to me, that's kind of how things have ended up. From my perspective, I'm not the one who's has any say on who's being brought in or, you know, that sort of a thing. But
no, there's been plenty of car clubs I've been in that've been ruined by a few asshats. So being a little more selective is
that's where you kind of got to be careful. Because I've seen that plenty of times too, where you get one or two toxic people that, you know, and it's probably they got brought in because, hey, this guy's got a really good car, like we could use this car, and then the personality just kind of grenades everything.
Yep, we've seen that on rallies, man. We've seen people kill rallies, you know, just by, you know, like running on the shoulder and whatever, like, you know, at 130 miles an hour. It's like, it happens in every aspect of the car community, but that's just the name of it.
That happens. You get to the dinner at the end and nobody wants to talk to you. Like, sorry, but you're a freaking asshole.
Oh, yeah. We've seen a lot of those stories. I saw you shift in your chair, so I'm guessing that we're hitting that 2-hour mark.
My ass has been numb for a little bit.
That's the unfortunate part. We're going to talk about something after this episode. I got some ideas that I want to run by you. Sure. But since we are hitting that 2-hour
chair-related ideas? Or?
Yeah, we've been playing with the studio a little bit, so yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get him a butt cushion.
Yeah.
So.
Either way, he gets the cushy chair, I get this one.
Oh, this isn't cushy.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah,
I used to have a chair like this in my home office, and I could tell when it starts going out because it shifts to the right.
Yeah.
And that's actually how I fucked up my hip, so it might be time to upgrade again soon. But since we're hitting that 2-hour mark, obviously, you know, we usually try to wind down around this time. So do you want to pop the usual 3? Because, you know, with 2 show car guys, it's probably going to take a minute.
Oh, yeah. All right. So at the end of every episode, we like to ask our guests to pick 3 cars, a show car, which you guys should probably have pretty loaded up, a daily driver, and a track car. So we'll start with you.
Unlimited budget. The only limit is your imagination.
Well, and the imagination part is probably going to be a little disappointing, but I've given this some thought. You know, in the show car, I went back and forth to go back to the Century that John had mentioned earlier, and like an LS 500 or something like that. You know, kind of staying true to my Toyota Lexus.
You'd give up the GS for that?
You sure you don't want a Buick Century? Because when you guys said that right first, that's what popped in my head right away. But yeah. All right, anyway,
you know,
Buick Century.
You know, and that would be the other thing. Like, I'm assuming I'm not giving up everything I own already.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think I'd probably have to go to the Century. Just, that's a little cooler than... You can buy a really expensive car and build it. It's just more unique. The daily, I think, a truck is probably, for a daily, like, I don't want to have to worry about driving it. Like, I want something I can just get in and go, and a tow vehicle at the same time would be good. Like a Tundra or a Sierra, some nice full-size truck that can tow. And the track car, I'm probably going to throw you for a loop because I don't really have the desire to autocross or any of that. Like, I'd take a drift car, like an S15, something like that. Some
That counts.
nothing
It's a track
like
car.
nothing
Yeah,
like
that's track activity.
crazy high budget like Lamborghinis or anything.
Yeah. No, that
Good.
makes sense. Yeah.
Keep my simple tastes.
All right.
And
So S15, and let's nail down a truck. Are you gonna stick with an American truck?
I'll stick with my Toyota and go with the
Toyota.
Tundra.
All right, Toyota
Well-
Tundra.
Yeah, let's pretend like Toyota Tundras aren't like.
I mean, they are.
massively
That's-
made in
They
America.
they are made in Texas.
Right, I was gonna say that's probably
I'll put
more
that in the
American.
truck
than-
category. Yeah.
All right, your turn.
This is gonna be. Believe it or not, I have it. I have my 3. I own them. So, literally, my show car, the Q45, is kind of everything that I've wanted and could hope to want in a show car.
Except for the goldfish.
That's
still
a
missing
must
that.
add now. Yeah.
Me and Kyle got some plans for the trunk, but yeah, I don't know if water is gonna be involved.
That's a little sketchy. to
Make a
me.
lava lamp. That'd be kind of cool.
I don't know that I've seen that before.
I haven't seen
That'd
that.
be different. Listen, you make a fucking lava lamp. Maybe make some jellyfish in there. I don't know. You want some crazy ideas? Let's go do some Quaaludes or something. We'll figure it right out.
But yeah, no, the show car. I mean, literally, my Q45 is kind of everything that I'd hope for and could ever want from a car. Yeah, I want to take it up another notch, but just the history of the car and everything that precedes me, like I'm just its caretaker right now. Daily driver, my Tundra. It's a 2012 Tundra. Thing is phenomenal. I mean, it tows great. It drives great. I don't got to worry about anything in the winter. It's something that I can get in and drive and not worry about anything. It's like it's still just a great truck. And then the track car, it's hard. I know people always say Miata is always the answer. EG Civic is always the answer.
Okay.
So, as my friend Jose just recently said, you might have a GT3 RS, but it's not better than a 5th gen Civic.
If that ain't the hottest take of the fucking episode, I'll take it. That's a win.
So, yeah.
Well, sweet. Where can people find you guys?
Instagram NLP Kane Shiba is how I go by there, and then you can also look that up on Facebook too, Twitter as well. For the few people that are still active on it.
X.
Can't make me call it X. It's Twitter.
It ain't happening. And then you?
So my IG is Kyle Harty, KYLEHARTY GS400, and that's really about all I really use. I've
Sweet.
got Facebook, but I'm not really there. It's
Sweet. And then you?
Gunna Garage with 2 N's.
Perfect.
I finally posted a reel of one of my daughters riding a snowmobile the other day. So we had about 2 inches in the yard. So.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, I know, right?
You're used
Yeah.
to 2 inches.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and as you all know, you found me here. Since we're 2 hours deep, you know where you're at. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Razorhood, of course. And if you're not signed up for the rally yet, I don't know what you're doing. Dan finally got his ticket.
Yep.
So we're going Minneapolis to Chicago for the first one. 2 track events on that one. And then south, we're doing Chicago down to Alpharetta again. It's basically the bigger, better Whiplash rally, so I'm really excited for that one. That's going to be my second coming. So let's see what else. If you're not on the community yet, you're a loser. Let's see what else do we need. I think we got everything. We got everything for the most part. And on that note, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you for reaching out. This is a blast. I learned a thing or 2 or 10. So
thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
super awesome. Dan, thanks for existing, and we'll see y'all next time.